This is Bosmont, a suburb not far from the centre of Johannesburg. Typical of many urban areas in contemporary South Africa, it faces challenges concerning the environment around it. The suburb neighbours on an industrial area on its east side and mine dumps on the southwest. It's also bordered in the west by the N1 National Highway. Formed during the segregation era, Bosmont was developed to house people who suffered forced removal from areas like Sophiatown in the early 1960s. Today, residents have organised themselves to take responsibility for issues affecting them and their environment. The Comm-Unity Green Projects, co-founded by Debbie Cockrell, a lifelong Bosmont resident and activist, who sees environmental preservation needing to be closely linked to social development and education.
In the development of the organization, we needed to start from the ground up and really with multiple skills, just genuine interest. We've got a team made up of people who come from various backgrounds, different age groups, different genders. And we had to figure out what is it that we want to focus on. When we're talking environmental awareness, there's so much to talk about. There's the climate change crisis, there's the waste management. So we needed to figure out what works best for our organization and relevant in our community. And there really are a couple of key focus areas for us. Critical and most important, I would say, is the environmental education and awareness. There is no environmental education and awareness within our schooling system within this community. We see that in the behavior of our children. We see that in our school properties and the state of what the facilities look like. We definitely know that within the home, it is sometimes possible that parents can have that involvement, but if parents are absent or working very hard, they sometimes don't get to play that role around environmental education and awareness with their children. So a very strong campaign for us is really to highlight what are some of the things that we can do within the home, within our schools, within our communities at large, that can develop a more custodial approach in terms of how we operate within our day-to-day habits and behaviors. That really forms within our education and awareness. And that could be anything from home waste management to sorting out your different types of waste, to how we use water within our homes. Are we making sure that we close our taps? Are we making sure that we water at the right time of the day? All those little habits are some of the awareness areas that we really try to encourage and send out awareness through the various social media platforms that we have set up.
With communication and coordination being key aspects of any environmental initiative, Comm-Unity Green Projects produce a featured publication called Green Times Newsletter.
What we aim to do for the Green Times is have a record of history so that we can say over this time, this is what CGP has done, but also this is what has happened in the community. So for example, we have the floods that were a huge issue that blocked off the N1, blocked off Albertina Sisulu. We have that noted. So I think what we've done is hold history. We are keeping everything in a record and we are adding to it as we create our new editions. So at this point, I'm running the layout and the actual publication for the Green Times that we do. It's basically myself and Shireen who do the full presentation, but we have assistance from a few of our volunteers outside of our community as well.
The Facebook page is also an important aspect of communication, probably the most direct and accessible. It records the legacy of activities and interests of those associated with Comm-Unity Green Projects.
Comm-Unity Green Projects is a registered non-profit company. We originally started as a team of about 12 to 14 residents who came together to see what we could do about some of the environmental challenges we were facing in the Bosmont community. And that was the original name that we had started with, Bosmont Comm-Unity Green Projects. That has then developed over the last 3 years into being a formalized entity, which we've rather chosen to register as Comm-Unity Green Projects. And the reason for this is really because we're starting to recognize within many communities across our region in Johannesburg, as well as I would believe South Africa itself, many communities are facing the same problems that we're all facing within our particular area. And what we are hoping to achieve through the brand that we are developing is really a platform where we can assist and support and pilot what it takes to start an environmentally focused community organization where residents are actively involved, where we partner with various stakeholders and city officials, different organizations that are all linked within these particular ecosystems regarding the environment. So 2021, coming out of COVID, that was really where we started. We met on the recreational facilities called the Bosmont grounds in our community under a tree, and we came together and just started talking about some of the big challenges we were seeing. And to highlight some of those issues were things like extreme pollution. Illegal dumping was a huge issue. Every second corner across our community was just litter and waste. As a community that is based in the Johannesburg region, we find ourselves along the mining belt of the Johannesburg mining industry, which obviously started many decades ago. And we are very mindful that many communities that run along the mining belt from the east of Johannesburg all the way through to the West Rand are affected and impacted by some of the challenges linked into the mining industry. That goes from air quality to water quality within those communities. We have communities like Riverlea, Davidsonville, Roodepoort, all the way along into the West Rand, where we know and are aware of problems being faced by those local communities, exactly like what Bosmont is dealing with.
A major issue in Bosmont is the waterway passing through the suburb, which feeds a wetland area next to the N1 highway.
Basically, the Willows or Bosmont Spruit area runs directly next to our sports recreational facilities, and obviously based on the way communities were set up during the apartheid years, this was an area that was demarcated for coloured communities, and that particular region within our community has been pivotal in the sports development arena.
The sports fields are affected by this situation, and the high elevation of the passing highway have helped create the situation. These water challenges are a serious point of focus for the Comm-Unity Green Forum, and it is recognized that long-term strategies will need to be applied.
That particular area is actually a wetlands. It's a natural wetlands, and it also is a natural floodplain. And what that means is that the way that the area is naturally set up according to Mother Nature is when it rains, it will naturally flood out into the greenery surrounding that area and then retreat back once the rainy season comes to an end, which obviously for us in Johannesburg is the summer months is our rainy season and winter is a little bit drier.
Some of the developed parts of Bosmont fall below the high water mark of the wetland, and this also causes problems.
The Bosmont wetlands area flows through an industrial area which is also very prominent in the Johannesburg region. It runs parallel to the Bosmont community, and in that area are multiple industrial factories which produce everything from paint to all kinds of chemical-based industries. And unfortunately, sadly, we have recognized that a lot of illegal waste is being polluted down their water systems into that area. So that's one of the really critical areas that we're seeing a little bit of input is needed from the city, from the crime prevention units, from the relevant role players within bringing to justice what is required for some kind of fining or some kind of bylaw infringement when it comes to illegal dumping from the corporate space.
The complexity of this issue has led the Comm-Unity Green Projects to seek partnerships with other organizations to help identify and address the different aspects of environmental impact. The University of Johannesburg's Process, Energy and Environment Technology Station, known by the acronym PEETS, have been studying the Bosmont area to help record data that can be used for lobbying government and other stakeholders to take action in rehabilitating damaged areas. They study the water and air quality and have presented a report back to the community on their findings.
The water samples were collected over a 12-month period through all 4 seasons at 4 sites along the Bosmont Spruit. These samples were collected and transported to UJ lab for pre-analysis and then sent for next generation sequencing to an accredited lab.
In layman's terms, they found over 960 different microorganisms. Now, sometimes microorganisms can be good and sometimes they can be bad. Unfortunately, because the Spruit has been infiltrated with been abused by the failed infrastructure in the province. So we've got from, on the one area, we've got from the squatter camp, so we've got a solid waste coming down into the Spruit area. We've got from some garages, we've got the runoff of the discharge of petrol, which should in actual fact be moved off-site, but it isn't. It's easy to just dump it into the Spruit. And no proper, again, bylaw regulations for accountability of the industries.
So you will see for environmental, wastewater and medical industry, those were the assumptions from your microorganisms that we found. Your mining activities, your paint, your oil and your petrochemical food processing was from your chemical analysis, those compounds that we detected. So that is a nice source of pollution that we find in the Spruit.
So as an environmental organization, what is critical for us is to create opportunities through this platform where we can tell these stories, where we can advocate for our environment, where we can advocate for our community's health and well-being, which includes its recreational facilities, where we can raise awareness around the state of maintenance within the city's infrastructure that is absolutely not meeting its demand. While we are engaging stakeholders from the city and working with the city, we are not seeing sufficient work being done to highlight the urgency of some of these issues.
But when you think about how huge the water crisis is in South Africa now, both in terms of quantity and quality, and how it's going to get moving forward, it's going to get much worse.
There is a growing awareness among environmental groups that as damage from human impact increases, the greater the need becomes to work together to address the situation.
So WaterCan, which is the Water Community Action Network, we're basically looking at trying to build a network of citizen science activists to monitor our water resources. So we're testing, we're then reporting on it, and then we're advocating for change. And that, in a nutshell, is who we are. So the amazing thing about citizen science is that it crosses across age, wherever you're living, rural, urban, whether you're inland or whether you're at the beach, everybody can test their water. And everybody needs to become aware of the challenges we face on our water. So we've been training people from as young as 10 to as old as 70. And the nice thing about our testing kit, it's easy, it's accessible, and everyone can do it in their home or if they want to go out. What it does is it creates a community of citizen science activists, and that's what we need in South Africa.
It is critically important right now when many people in South Africa, in Africa, around the world are feeling high levels of anxiety about the climate crisis and other failures in governance and even failures in democracy, that people are given pathways to participate, to make a difference, to take responsibility of things that they can take responsibility. So what's happening here with WaterCan is an initiative that I believe can be taken to scale, where South African citizens are empowered to test their water and draw attention immediately when we find contamination so that health is not impacted, but more importantly also look at water security in the future, because whether we like it or not, given where the climate crisis is for Southern Africa, water is going to be one of the most difficult issues that we confront in terms of the climate crisis.
we have such high levels of pollution because of industrial waste, because of fertilizers, because of sewage, that we're finding that it's killing our river ecosystems. And 60% of our river ecosystems are threatened. And when I say ecosystem, I mean everything that goes in, the plants, the animals, the fish. So that's important for us to monitor, to make sure that we try to protect our river ecosystems. And even on that, at least 9% of our population rely on rivers, streams and dams for their water supply. So they're drinking polluted water.
This is not simply a water crisis, this is a human rights crisis, because water is a basic human right which is enshrined in the South African Constitution and many other constitutions around the world. And if our governments are not able to deliver safe drinking water, they are violating their constitutional commitments, which is what is happening right now.
Like I say, if we could be the pilot study, if we could get to the, to the national leaders and say, look, this is what they found in the Spruit as a starting point, because then we could even be called like train the trainer, and we can get other environmental stakeholders in, and we can collaborate with them and say, look, use us as the pilot study. This is what we found. This is the way we went about it. So if we can implement, how we got UJ Pete's on board, for example, and we can then take it to other entities, other communities in the province, and then have far-reaching and move it to the next province. So it's humble beginnings, it's starting small, and as they say, you bite the elephant bit by bit. It's not going to happen in 1 year.
Environmental activists in South Africa have come to realize that the growing challenges facing the country are not going to be solved by leaving matters up to the authorities. It will take the efforts of people coming together where they experience and have first-hand knowledge of their situations.
And we are seeing a global movement with various campaigns that are happening, from World Cleanup Day, World Environmental Day, World Sustainability Day. All of those global events are geared towards shifting the mindset of every single planetary citizen towards active citizenry. What can I do to make a difference in my community? And this really is our challenge to our community and to anybody who's participating within the environmental space and visiting our website, is what can be done to make a little difference where you are at.
Comm-Unity Green Projects is one potential solution to this networking approach that seeks to join interest groups from different walks of life.
But everything starts with the individual within your home and within your own community. So we're very encouraged that the active citizenry movement is growing, and that we are without a doubt part of that movement, and really want to challenge any of our community members, residents, schools, religious and faith-based organizations, non-profit organizations, sporting fraternities, anybody who's out there looking for information, looking for knowledge. The vision of Comm-Unity Green Projects is really to use our website as a platform, a pilot, possibly a template for what you could use to start and grow your environmental awareness within your own community.
By aligning the efforts of as many interested stakeholders as possible, the momentum will be achieved to meaningfully address what is one of the most important issues: the state of our urban living space, the quality of the water that flows through it, and managing the pollutants that potentially threaten it and the people living there.